This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 864 of Horse Tip Daily. A different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you, one day at a time. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today, Hillary Moore Hebert, senior editor of Dressage Today magazine and DressageToday.com, joins the Dressage Radio Show crew for some great tips for helping riders understand and overcome asymmetry using numbers. And we'll get right to our tip after this shopping tip from EquestrianCollections.com.
Hi, Glenn here from the Horse Radio Network, and I am with Debbie at Equestrian Collections with this week's Product of the Week.
This week, I am featuring a Professional's Choice Combo Bandage, which is really sort of a polo wrap type. But the reason I picked this is because this particular bandage is sort of unique. The inside of it, the part that goes against the horse's leg, is that same soft, fleecy polo type of material. But the outside is a stretchy, non-fuzzy material. So when you wrap the horse's leg, and always remember that wrapping polos and stuff is a very careful. You have to be very careful with how you do that because you can damage your horse if you don't know how to do it. Be sure and get some instructions on how to. But when you use this bandage, it looks neat and clean on the outside and doesn't have the fuzzies to pick up everything in the world that's out there, especially in the fall when things are blowing around. But the inside is still the soft, fuzzy part that's very soft against the horse's leg. So I featured this because it's different from your regular polo bandage. It comes in white and black, very conducive particularly to dressage people because of the colors and stuff. And it's only $35.95. Now that's a bit pricey for a regular polo, but it's an excellent price for this combo bandage. I think if you get one, you will feel you'll be very happy with it because it's very comfortable for the horse and looks very neat when you're using it.
It has a professional's choice quality as well. So take a look at EquestrianCollections.com and search Professional's Choice Combo Bandage, and you'll find them in black and white.
Ray LaCroix has a great tip for students and teachers alike, and he says to provide context and clarity in your lessons, assign numerical values to the strength of you or your student aids and just generally anything that you might do in a lesson. So here would be an example is if you have a rider that has asymmetrical contact, just keeping with the theme of what we've been talking about so far today, assign a number between 1 and 10 of how much the contact feels like in each hand. And so the rider who thinks they're symmetrical when they're not will say maybe that they have a 2 in each hand. And so the best way to explain to them the asymmetry is to say to them with the weaker hand, can you make it a 5? And then when they feel a 5 and a 2, then what they'll feel is asymmetrical, but it will be truly symmetrical. And so then you can say at that point, okay, this is actually symmetry, and start to understand, how what you can feel might be different from the reality of things. And I think that applies to really almost everything that I can think of in terms of the aids or your position or whatever when you're riding in a lesson. And I thought it was a neat idea of, give a quantity to what you're talking about so that you can, use that as a baseline.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take on it, actually, because, I think one of the biggest discussions we have as trainers is how do you teach feel? Because what I feel and what Philip feels and what Hillary feels, what we all feel is different. So to be able to sort of assign a way to describe at least a piece of it, that's a really interesting way to think about it. What do you think, Philip?
Well, I kind of got this, when we started learning a little bit from Scott Hassler, because he uses a little bit that numerical thing for a lot of aspects of the riding, and so I tried to take that from his teaching And this is a little bit of a different take, but I mean, you talk about, using a dial, right? And when you're teaching someone, it's helpful to say, maybe for energy or for lengthening or something, to say, okay, I'd like you to, kind of dial it up to 7, or if you really want the horse to go, kind of go to 10, right? And I think that's a little bit the same thing, trying to use numbers to describe, what exactly you want. So I think this is another thing right along with that, to say, how heavy is the horse? Well, you don't have to say 2 pounds, 4 pounds. You just have to kind of assign a scale and then go from there. And I think that helps the rider to understand and to just make the communication between coach and rider better. And I think any kind of tip that can help with that is a great one. So this is nice, because we don't always, you don't get a lot of tips on how to teach, right? And for us as trainers, I mean, we teach from, the examples that we've had in our lives and from the coaches that we've had, that we don't go to school for it, right? So, the more things that can, bringing a little better education to coaches, I think is great.
And I think, it's interesting that you said that, because it reminds me of an article we did last year with Shauna Harding, because she does the same thing training horses, where she thinks about riding the horses for a 6 when she first is training them, and then she increases it to a 7, and then she has a time when they're ready for it to ride for a 10, when they're competent and strong enough. And I think that it's interesting, because it seems like if you take Ray's concept, Scott's concept, and Shauna's concept, you can really think about how you can use that, scale of things from 1 to 10, and how you can explain to people, for example, in the trot lengthening, you right now are riding for a 9 and your horse is only strong enough to handle a 7. You can't push that much, because you're actually, going beyond his strength. And as a result, you will earn a 5 in the show ring. And I think, it's really neat to think about those things, because I think it's much more understandable to people than just saying, oh, right now you're pushing too hard, or that is good, or that is not good,
Well, that pretty much takes care of it. You can also find lots more tips on topics ranging from barn care to websites for horse people at horsetipdaily.com. Just look for the topics drop-down menu on the left. You can listen to more from Reese and Phillip and everything dressage at Dressage Radio Show, dressageradio.com. And now you can have all of the Horse Radio Network shows with you wherever you go by downloading our new free app for iPhone and Android. Just go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. And don't forget, support our sponsors here on Horse Tip Daily, because they do make these podcasts possible. Today's podcast has been brought to you by EquestrianCollections.com. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.